Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Gilbert. This is the first episode of People Over Profits. What we're going to be doing on this podcast is we're going to be talking about the real life stories that happen with some of the homeowners and transactions that we do. It could be anything from wholesale real estate, the mortgage industry, realtors, flippers. It's going to be overall stories of what happens in the transaction. Because a lot of times what I've noticed is people get so caught up in the, hey, I'm gonna make this much money, or I'm gonna make whatever XYZ. Um, but then what about those people that, hey, you're not really gonna make too much, but you know how to help them? Like that's the people that I really wanna focus on the stories, because some of those stories get left out. You know, we're gonna talk about some of those stories that where you make a good profits as well. I've been involved in real estate since 2018. I've done close to, I'd probably say, a little over 100 transactions as far as real estate goes. But I've held long-term rentals, short-term rentals, mid-term rentals. Um, I've done quite a bit, in creative real estate as well. I'm also an admin of the wholesale real estate group on Facebook. It's got close to 130,000 followers, and overall, just bringing value to people in the real estate industry. So one of the transactions that I've gone through was there was this lady. She contacted us through our Google PPC campaigns. It was on, I think it was Google PPC or Facebook PPC, but either way, it's kind of the same thing, right? Like it was some type of paid advertising that we put out for people. And she called us. She called us. It was late night. I remember it was like, I think it was like close to 8 p.m., you know? And we were on the phone with her. We're talking about her situation. And she's like, hey, I need to sell my property. I need to sell my property as soon as possible. And typical sales, right? Like you got to come in and you got to put that sales hat on and you say, okay, well, why do you need to sell? Okay, well, this is what I'm going through. Turns out I'm just going to give her a name, random name. This is where all the toxicas are going to come in and say, hey, who's Jennifer? Who's Jennifer? Okay, so it's her name. We're just going to call her Jennifer. Her son's name is Doug, random person. And her husband, I can't remember his name either. Let's just say Jeff. I don't know. So she calls us in our Google PPC campaign, and she's saying, "Hey, you know what? Like, Jeff, he's been cheating on me. Or, man, we're going through a divorce. We have a kid together. He's 6 years old, and I just have to close this door. I have to close this door. And the reason for that is because I got a call from someone who is trying to buy the house, and turns out they told me that I'm a few months behind on my mortgage payment. And I didn't even know. She didn't know. Like she called us and was like, "Hey, am I on the foreclosure list?" And we looked her up, and sure enough, she was on the foreclosure list. You know, she called the mortgage. She called her mortgage holder the next day, and turns out she was behind about 5 months. She was behind about 5 months, and a $3,000 mortgage, that's what, like $15,000. And then when you factor in the foreclosure attorney fees and all that comes in with it, it's probably close to like $20,000. You know, not everyone has $20,000 just laying around to reinstate a home to try to keep it, right? So she's in a huge bind. She's in a huge bind, and we're talking to her, and we're like, okay, well, have you tried? Listing it with an agent? Have you tried, maybe talking to a bankruptcy attorney? Have you tried, all these other questions, right? And she's like, well, the thing is, the foreclosure is in 2.5 weeks, and a normal real estate transaction is going to take at least 30 days. So she's like, I can't, I just don't have enough time. I'm going to get foreclosed. So what happened was that um, when you're talking to a homeowner, right, and you're explaining, hey, well, I at least for our business, right, like what we're doing is we're gonna come in and we're gonna say, well, look, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Like we're gonna disapprove ourselves or try to say point you in the right direction. Have you talked to an agent? Have you talked to your attorney? Have you talked to, um, you know, maybe can you try to get a bank loan to pay that reinstatement amount? can you get $20,000 from a family member or put it together and try to pay that off? And she said no to all those questions, right? So that was the overall call of what happened when she came in, right? Through our Google PPC ad, she called us and said, "Hey, look, this is what I'm going through. This is my overall situation of what's going on," right? So now we're transitioning into actually running the numbers and trying to see how we can help, right? So we're running the numbers and we're looking at the property. I think the property had an overall value of like 400,000 or so. She had a mortgage around 360. Okay, so $360,000. Obviously, it's in good condition and everything. It didn't need any repairs, but when you as a cash buyer or as a wholesaler, or any kind of real estate professional that you're going to be buying properties and for profits, obviously, we're in this game to make money. Yeah, absolutely, but you should be helping out the person first, right? So when running the numbers and you do the overall calculation of it, you can already know that most of my colleagues are going to talk about the cash offer, and it's probably going to be around like 275, maybe 280, depending on repairs, right? Depending on what the overall condition is of the property. And obviously, if your cash offer is at 300,000 and they have a mortgage at 350 or so, 360, they're you can't expect the homeowner to come in and pay that difference, right? And you're not going to be able to either. So in this case, we had to offer her a subject to offer, which pretty much means that we're going to take over the mortgage, okay? Take over the mortgage of what the value is, okay? We're going to pay the amount that's due behind, which is the $20,000 or so. And we're going to be responsible for that mortgage from here on out, okay? So we explained the offer, we talked to her and everything, and we went ahead and we shot her over some credibility of these are the properties that we've done before, and this is what we do. This is how this offer works, in other words. And so we ran through the numbers with her. We gave her an idea of what exactly that looks like, right? So we're in the conversation and we're good to go. She signs the agreement. We sent her over the agreement. She signed it. She's good to go. And then what happens is that she's like, "Well, look, like, I understand your offer. I understand you're going to buy the property and everything. But then the next big question is, well, I'm being left without a home. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not going to have anywhere to live. Like, where do I go? Where's Jennifer and where's Doug going to go? You know what I mean? So like, it's like that was the next big question. So after that call, we got off the call, and my partner and I, we got on the phone and we kind of brainstormed, right? Like, all right, what are we going to do? How are we going to fix this for this lady? We can't leave her homeless. She's got a kid, and either way, we got to keep in mind that people before profits, right? Like, we're not trying to just, hey, all right, we took a home run with this property and everything, but we got to keep in mind that what's our overall goal and how our business works. So we brainstorm a little bit, and my partner gets this crazy idea. He's like, "Hey man, look, bro, we're going to buy her a trailer. We're going to buy her a trailer, and we're going to attach it to her truck. And then this way she can drive around wherever she needs to, park at an RV park if she needs to, wherever. But she's not tied to a single location, and she doesn't have to be worried about being homeless on the streets. We don't want that for her either." So I'm like, "All right, man, that's kind of crazy, bro. But all right, let's do it, man. Let's do it. Yeah, let's go out for this lady, man." If that was my mom or that was my sister and someone said, "Hey, I'm going to buy your house," and they offered my sister or my mom a trailer they could attach to the truck or something, man, I would love that. I would love that. I would want them to do business with them. I'd even probably recommend them more people, right? So we do that. He goes on Facebook Marketplace. He goes and finds, well, first of all, he tells her that. He's like, "Hey, Jennifer, look, we're going to buy you a trailer. We're going to buy you a trailer, and we're going to attach it to your truck. So this way you have somewhere to live. You guys are not going to be on the streets. All you really have to worry about is your gas money and then wherever you're going to park," right? So we we're going on Facebook Marketplace. We're sending her listings. She's sending us some listings, and we're going back and forth. And then we finally find one. She's like, I like that one right there. I like that one right there. So my partner, he's like, hey, all right, cool. Yeah, sounds good. Contacts the owner. Contacts the owner. Next day, man, he picks me up from my house. And he's like, hey, bro, like, let's go pick up this trailer. I'm like, bro, this is crazy. He goes and buys a hitch and everything onto his truck, so that we can go and deliver this trailer for this person, right? And keep in mind, like, we haven't closed. Like, we didn't close on the property. We didn't like, man, we did not close. Like, this is technically still her property. Now we have a trailer. We have a trailer now that we have in our possession, and then now it's about to be ours, right? So we go to this house of this trailer owner, and man, we get there, and it's the most awkward thing ever because they're like, don't, hey, you didn't get this trailer from us. I only want cash, no paper trails. My partner's like, whoa, I mean, is title even yours? Like, like, how can this seems very weird. And they're like, well, look, we just don't want anything on paper. Okay. We're just traditional. We don't like anything on paper, no paper trails, nothing. It's cash and that's it. Here's the pink slip, or however that works for trailers. I don't know. My partner knew a lot more than I do. So he was like, hey, all right, well, this is how it works. So they wanted all cash. So I told my partner, hey, man, my money funny, bro. I don't got it. I don't got it right now, man. If you could spot it, and then I'll spot you when we close, that works for me. And he was like, you know what? No problem. It's all good. Like, he's been in the game a lot longer than I have, so he had the change to be able to do it. So he goes ahead. He buys it and everything. We're at this house, and man, like, we're the way the house was set up was that the trailer was in the back, and it'd been raining a few days. So we attach it to his truck, and then we get stuck. We get stuck in the mud with this trailer trying to leave the house because it was like on a dirt road in the backyard, and we get stuck in the dirt road. And the same family that sold us the trailer, they come out. They're like, "Hey, it looks like you're in some trouble. Like, do you need help getting out?" And we're like, "Well, yeah, we're stuck in the mud. It's like the trailer's just stuck." Oh, okay, great. Well, look, I also own a towing company, and I'm gonna go ahead and I can get you guys out. And we're like, okay, great. Man, you guys are so helpful. Thank you guys so much. Man, they pull us out, and we finally get out and everything. He pulls out his truck and everything, and he attaches to our truck, gets us out from the mud, and then he hands us the bill. And he's like, "Hey, bro, this is gonna cost you $200." And I'm looking at my partner, and I'm like, this family can't be real, man. Like, this is crazy. And my partner is like fighting tooth and nail. He's like, nah, man, come on. Like, we already went to your guys' wishes, nothing on paper and everything. Like, I already came out cash. I had to go to the bank, get cash and everything. Come on, man. Like, help us out. They're like, you know what? Just call it a day at $50 or whatever. I was like, $50? I'm like, dude. So whatever. We just gave them the $50. We got out, and we go. Man, this was an all day thing. Like, we were literally like, man, it must have been like 3 hours or so. So we're doing, keep in mind, we're doing all this for the homeowner, right? Like, the person that's in foreclosure. Her and her family are going through things. They're going in through a divorce and all that. Like, there's just a lot going on at the same time. So that's where, like, this transaction is like interesting. It's like, damn, this is gonna be. Well, I even said it. I was like, man, this is one day. This is gonna be a podcast story. And so, all right, we finish everything up. We go, and we're we're hungry. We've been at it for a few hours trying to figure all this out. Man, we stop at a gas station. We got like a little pizza and everything, and man, it was just the most satisfying pizza ever, because it's like, look what we're doing. Like, we went and bought this trailer for this lady who's going through foreclosure. They're about to be pretty much on the streets. Um, and here are two guys, man. We're just eating pizza in the back of the trailer we just bought from Facebook Marketplace. And man, we're just feeling good. We're just feeling good, right? So that's at the highlight, I would say, of us going and doing good for this lady that we're about to help out, right? So finally, we finish up our pizza. It was just a funny moment. That's something I'm just gonna remember for the rest of my life. And we finish up our pizza. We go drive back to my friend's house, and we leave the trailer at his house. And so the next morning, we're calling her, to give her the good news. We sent her pictures and everything, a video, and we're calling her, and then she doesn't answer. She's not answering anymore. She's like, she didn't answer. Like, okay, maybe she's busy, like things happen, whatever. Maybe she's just caught up. A few hours pass by. She's not answering anymore. So like, she's just not answering. So like, is everything okay? Like, what? It's kind of weird. Whatever. Sent her a text message. Nothing. The next day comes around. Same thing. We call her. She's not answering. Call her a little later. She's not answering. And we're looking at each other and we're like, damn, like what's going on? We have escrow opened. So escrow is, we got the purchase agreement signed. She agreed to sell her property subject to the existing mortgage, right? We're taking over the mortgage. We're giving her a trailer. We even put that in the contract, like buyer to deliver a trailer. Like that's exactly what was in that contract. We sent it over to escrow so they can open up escrow. We put in the deposit and everything, and we're getting ready to pretty much heading towards the closing. And we've got all this movement, and she's just not answering her phone. She's not answering her phone, and we're just, what do we do? What do we do? So after a few days pass by, she finally answers. My partner, he went to her house and knocked on her door and was like, "Hey, what's going on?" And she wouldn't answer the door. She wasn't answering phone calls, emails, text messages. She just wasn't answering. Then out of nowhere, she called my partner and was like, "Hey, look, I don't know how to explain this, but my husband, obviously they were going through a divorce and everything. They were having some challenges." And she was like, "Hey, look, like my husband contacted me, and we're working everything out. Working everything out. We're gonna actually keep the house. We're gonna actually keep the house." And you know, picture yourself like if that were my sister and said, "Hey, you know what? Like they're gonna try to work things out and everything. That's totally fine. I'm glad for them, but we went above and beyond to try to deliver for this person, right?" So now we're kind of like, oh man, like we just bought a whole trailer. We just bought a whole trailer, bro. Like we took the whole day to go and do this, and then she's like, "Hey, you know what? Like it turns out, me and my husband, we're gonna work things out. We're gonna try to fix things and try to be as a family and everything." Um, and it's understandable, right? Like I mean, things happen. They figured everything out. Um, so they ended up getting a loan modification. We helped them with that. We gave them the documents and said, "Hey, look, like this is how you can go through that process. That's totally fine." And they figured everything out. Obviously they didn't get foreclosed or anything. They worked out a loan modification with the bank. The bank stopped the foreclosure, and they were able to keep the house. So I think the reason I chose this story is to outline that the people over profits, right? Like these are real stories that people go through, and sometimes it doesn't end this way. You know what I mean? Sometimes there are people that lose their homes, you know, and there's a lot of people in the real estate industry that they know they're not going to make any money, so they don't help the person, you know. And I feel like that's completely wrong. And I just saw this the other day. One of my colleagues, she posted that. She was like, "Hey, look, like I can't believe I ran into this, but someone was not willing to help them because they knew they weren't going to make a paycheck." It's like how hard is it to just send them over the documents that they need to fill out to talk to the bank, or to give them some kind of one pager and say, hey, look, like this is the overall process of how this works for bankruptcy or for foreclosure, or for, like, go talk to these attorneys. We can recommend you an attorney if you need one. Like there's other ways that we can help as real estate guys. It doesn't always have to be tied to the profit. So going back to this story, overall, obviously we went above and beyond. We shouldn't have bought a trailer, but we did. I don't know, it was just spur of the moment kind of thing. We really wanted to help this lady. I felt like we did everything that we needed to, and that we felt in our hearts to do. Maybe it was too much. We bought a whole trailer and everything. We bought the trailer and everything. My partner, he had bought it and everything, right? So he bought it and he just resold it. He resold it and everything. He even made a little bit of a profit. So at the end of the day, it ended up being a win-win, right? I mean, oh man, let me find out. I'm actually going to make a podcast based on flipping trailers or something like that. But overall, I think it's a funny story. I think that, we over-delivered based on what we had and what we knew. And I think just keeping this overall message of, people before profits, and keeping in mind that, treat that person like a family member. If someone you knew was going through some of these life challenges, you as a real estate professional, you're coming in and you're trying to help them out as much as possible. And, I feel like we did our part on that. As I mentioned, I am going to be bringing on other people in my space that, I work with and that, I admire myself. And I'm going to be bringing them on to talk about some of those stories, some of those learning lessons that, help carry on their business today. And people that are very inspiring, that have done a lot of changes in people's lives and impacted everyone. So yeah, this is the overall message. And we'll keep it going. We'll keep coming on and we'll keep bringing on some stories of personal stories that I've been involved in. And as always, like the message I like to say, closing out on any conversation that I have, is I want to leave your life better than when it was when I entered. Okay. That's for whether I make money or not. I mean, believe me, there's been times when I've been in transactions where I made $300. There's been transactions where I made well over, good money, but I think overall the message is, people over profits and not being tied to just a paycheck. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. That was the first episode of People Over Profit, where we're just going to talk about real estate stories, everything real estate. So overall, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Go ahead and subscribe. The links are in the description. Catch us on the next one. I'm not sure what we're going to do just yet. I mean, I might bring on a friend. I might talk about one of the other crazy stories. I have two different options available that I'm going to be brainstorming on. So yeah, let's go ahead and, just give us a like, follow, connect with me on Facebook, on the Wholesale Real Estate group on Facebook, and then on my personal one as well. So Gilberto Escobar, that's my name on there, and we'll connect next time.